No,
For this. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to share my screen here with us again. Appreciate it. I know last week we were chatting in regards to seller or buyers and working with buyers. Haven't done this class since last year, so this is what we'll change this date for reference for me later. I can't believe that we're already almost done with February here. But so anyway, just wanted to check. I think we were chatting about what to do when you have a buyer, the buyer presentations, everything that you want to have. To be prepared for a buyer. And so today I just wanted to share with you what's going to happen when you, the follow-up system. And I mentioned last week about LPMAMA, and not a lot of people knew or heard about it, but maybe you have some other system that you have. I can't remember where we learned this from, if it was Tom Ferry or whoever it might have been, but it's something to understand and have when you get a buyer and you're new. Uh, Absolutely take down a piece of paper and write LP Mama just like you have right here, and you'll get this memorized because you kind of to allow a conversation to Holly calls me up and says that, I'm calling on a property in Auburn, let's say, or they actually don't even say that. They'll probably say, I'm calling on a property on Torrey Pines. And so I know where Torrey Pines is. They're probably calling on one of my listings or somewhere. And so what I'm going to do with Holly is I want to know what Holly knows about the location. So the very first part. So I'm going to have this open conversation. I like to talk to buyers for 15, 20, 30 minutes just to build some rapport is what I like. So I'm going to be basically talking about location. So Holly calls and she wants to see this house on Torrey Pines and she's calling about this home. So I know that Torrey Pines happens to be in a gated community called Lake of the Pines. So I will then start and say something of the nature of, well, Holly, thank you so much for calling about Torrey Pines. It's a beautiful home. Just are you familiar with the Auburn area? And if she says, no, I'm not familiar with the Auburn area, then I stop right there and I pivot and I start talking about Auburn or what brings her to the Auburn before I even really get into the house. What brings her into Auburn? What brings her to this location? If she says, oh yeah, I totally live in Auburn, that's great. And then then I don't talk about Auburn. Then I switch and I'll talk about Lake of the Pines. And I'll say, oh, are you familiar that the house that you're calling on happens to be in Lake of the Pines? And she'll say, oh, yeah, I love Lake of the Pines. Absolutely. So then I don't really talk about Lake of the Pines. Then I draw it down and I say, okay, great. It's on Torrey Pines. Do you see where I'm going with that? Because if you just start going talking about the house and you're chatting with the house about the location, then I don't know how much information that they know about the community or of Auburn in general, Lake of the Pines community, or Torrey Pines. So if they say, no, I don't know anything about Lake of the Pines, I was just calling on this house because I thought it was in Auburn. Well, those who know Lake of the Pines, that it's not really in Auburn. It's a few minutes outside of Auburn. So I want to know about the location. So write down L for location and say, I want to know, are you familiar? Now, if somebody comes to you and Holly says to me, I'm moving there to be closer to my family. I'm moving there because I've got a job transfer. Those are golden words that you want to hear from a buyer because those are the people who are probably 99% going to move there sometime in the near future. So that is really critical. If they say that we're looking at homes in Auburn, that I say, oh, is there any other locations you're looking for? Because we have somebody that we just referred to, Wairika, up to the others, Weed, California. So there's different towns. So when they asked me about other locations, guess what we did? We said, you know what? Do you have an agent that's up there in that location yet? No, I don't. So that way, if I come and they come into Auburn and I show them this house on Torrey Pines and Holly goes, yeah, I don't really like Auburn anymore. I'm moving somewhere else. At least I have now an opportunity that I've got referrals out. So then when Holly goes up the hill and goes up, she's able to then chat with these other individuals. And then if they do buy something there, then I get a percentage. So location is really critical to understand what they know about the location and narrow it all the way down. Any questions about location? Nope, you're all good. Good, good. So then the next thing you want to do is talk about price because people understand when they call, and please don't ever get stuck on this one because I got in trouble one time where they called on something like very inexpensive piece of land or something. And so I kind of thought, all right, well, they're, that's great. It's a transaction, but it's like a $29,000 piece of dirt. And it's like, that's kind of fun. It didn't really excite me to drive out to North San Juan to go show them this piece of property for that little of compensation or time or whatever. Then so I was kind of had that negative activity in my head. And then all of a sudden, after we started chatting about price and houses and the land and stuff, he ended up buying some $250,000 piece because he realized what the value of a $29,000 piece. And I don't remember if it was really 29, but it was pretty cheap. So I'm just letting you know that if somebody calls on something on the price, it goes both ways because we all, if somebody calls me on $1 million home and then I'm going to get into the M for mortgage, and then I realize that where do you guys want your price point, and they say I want to pay no more than $2,000 a month, and they called on a $1 million home or $500,000 house, then I'm going to go, well, Holly, how much down payment do you have? Because I want to know kind of where they're at with that. So I'm kind of doing a soft conversation, building some rapport, talking about price. And then Holly says, oh yeah, the house on Torrey Pines, let's say it's $500,000. And I go, yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's 500 grand. Is that kind of the budget that you kind of want to be around, or what's your budget in the valuation after we maybe talk about the house a little bit? Yeah, that's kind of somewhere in that range. I probably could afford a little bit more, but I was just kind of curious about this house. So I want to know what the range of price is, where they want to be, because that leads me right into mortgage. So if they tell me they want to be in that 400 to $500,000 price point, then I'll go, that's great. That's a beautiful home. There's a couple other ones. And this is what's important about why you go to tour meetings. This is why it's important that you review every morning on your MLS of your local market of kind of where things are, your hot sheet of how many houses went pending, how many houses are that maybe some new ones that just came on the market as well. So you're understanding that, because if they said something and said, yeah, I'm looking for this price point, I go, Holly, did you see that price that just came on in Meta Vista for $399? And it's absolutely gorgeous, and it's on 2.5 acres. It's a cute little farm kind of home or little A-frame. So I knew that because I saw that yesterday morning. So I was able to push and tell Holly this other house as well. Then Holly might go, well, no, send me more information. I'd love to that. So what did I just do? I just gave her a resource that, hey, I am the man that is going to help and assist you to find a property. So I'm building this rapport. So when I ask Holly and say, Holly, have you had an opportunity to sit down with a mortgage lender or mortgage professional to be able to help you get into that range of where you need to be between the 400 and 500? And if Holly says, I've got my total pre-approval letter, I've got it already in hand, I'm going to ask for it right then and there. I'm going to say, that's great, Holly, because that would be something really important. So when we work together, I need that letter. Is that something that you can actually forward over to me? Because when we actually find the house, I need to actually have that so I can present that with the offer. So I'm kind of being a little forward there that we're going to work, but hopefully by the time I get here, we're into 5 to 10 minute conversation, and they're chatting, I'm listening, and I'm asking about their mortgage. And so I'll need that, or I'll need their information to their phone number. Because I personally like to, like, if Holly writes an offer, I personally like to involve and CC my lender on that, but I also kind of like to put the price on there and have the address on there too. Some mortgage people are just going to give you a blank. Here's Holly qualifies for $500,000, and thank you very much with this blah 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 stuff that they need to have. But I kind of like to put the address. I like to have it more, kind of a little bit more personalized a little bit on that too. So that means I need to know the mortgage person, so then I can call up and say, hey, Dorothy's the mortgage person. So I need to say, Dorothy, just want you to know, Holly just wrote an offer, and it's $479,000 is what we're putting in the offer. Can you actually put that down? Because if Holly finds one that's $399 and the letter says she's approved for 500 grand, and we're coming in a little bit lower than asking, I don't want the other agent and the buyer or the seller to see that we can qualify for 100 grand more when we came in a little bit lower. So I kind of like to match that price. Pro tip on this one though, when Holly and I put an offer at 399 and we counter at 425, and the letter said 399, I need to get a new letter from my lender at the 425 purchase price, just so you that paper trail stays consistent on that. So just keep that in mind that most agents probably won't ask you for a new one, but you definitely need to give that agent that you on the other side a new one that matches that number. All right. So I'm talking about location. We're talking about price. She says, yes, I've got approved, or no, I don't. Then what are we going to say? What are you going to want to do on that? What would your go-to verbiage that when you say how you want to get somebody to work with your mortgage person?
Would you like a recommendation?
Yes, perfect. That's awesome. Slides are so perfect. Yeah, hey, you know what? Would you like a recommendation? Because there's a lot of different choices out there. You have your online lenders that certainly could be good in certain cases, but you mentioned that this is your first time buying a home. So Holly, going with somebody there where you're not having the boots on the ground or chatting with somebody that's just online and you're talking to 12 different people because you're just put into a big system, or you can actually chat with one individual person that I really recommend that I've been working with for over 30 years, and they will sit there and take as much time as that you want. I have different lenders. So if we went into VA, on that, and I'm a VA buyer, then I'm going to probably shift them to a VA lender that I really like because there's different criteria with the MP33. There's all sorts of things that MP what? MPMA. So that's why Therese is here to keep my things correct. But there's things you can get around Section 1 clearances and stuff that he does really well with. So I'm gonna have maybe a minute and a half conversation. Do you mind if I send that person's information to you? Oh no, that would be great. It'd be perfect. And then I share a little bit of why that we want that. Because I'm gonna say, Holly, I know that you're not pre-approved, but if we go out and look at homes and look at this Torrey Pines house and you love it, and you want to put an offer on this property, we're going to be behind 2 to 4 days because we're not quite ready to actually get that pre-approval letter. And somebody else who already has gone through the system and already put the pre-approval letter will be putting that offer on, and we may not get that house. So I don't want anything to stand in our way that if you find the perfect house that you really love, that we can actually put an offer on it that same day and then have that letter. So that's important that I need to have that letter or have that somewhat of a pre-approval on that. Plus, guys, is what you're wanting to do too is if somebody calls on a $900,000 house, as that example, and they only want to pay $2,000 a month, that doesn't jive, that doesn't fit. So if I will bring that up, and because I asked them, I said, what, I know you're not pre-approved yet, Holly, but what budget, what is your dollar amount that you're thinking that you want to spend and note and spend, your top cap on your house payment, and including taxes and insurance. And so that's when they'll say, well, about 4,000, 5,000. So you can kind of understand, well, that's probably closer to, in your down payment again, Holly. Well, I'm putting zero down because I'm going to do this program and that program. And so I went, okay, so then that's going to be a little bit tricky. So then I'm going to tell them, well, that's kind of really on more of a 375 to maybe 350 house payment and I share with them. I want to make sure that they don't ever feel like, well, I'm just a poor person and I can't really afford any more. I always reverse the role and I'll say, hey, Sandra, just wanted to let you know that, you might be able to qualify for, 500,000 or $600,000, but I don't want you guys to be uncomfortable buying a house and feel like you guys can't go to dinner, you can't take vacation, you got your house, but you can't do anything else. So I don't really want you to feel that way. So I want you to talk to Amelia or Holly or whoever the lender is and say, I want you to talk to her and chat with her about that and say, I only feel comfortable at this dollar amount. Where do I fit in the value of what I need to do? So then when that matches, then Holly, we can go out and look at the properties in that price point, because I don't want to go in and show you this beautiful house that's got granite counters and all sorts of stuff with a swimming pool and a pool house and all this, and realize that now all of a sudden we can't buy that house because it's outside of your desired budget, instead of saying you're too poor, you can't afford it. See where I'm going with that? You got to choose your words correctly. And so then I'll say, well, why don't we just get that set? Because I'd hate to, go look at something and we both absolutely fall in love with, but then it's something that we aren't able to afford. And then that way we're not spinning our wheels. So I really want them to get somewhat pre-approved. You guys don't want to go out and look at properties like over and over and over again. And then all of a sudden you get close to finding a property and then you go out with them 5 times and then they go to talk to their lender and they realize they had a bankruptcy 30 days earlier or a year earlier and they can't purchase a house. And then you just kind of, what did you just do? You maybe have got some experience because brand new agents, hey, you got to do something and you got to go show, but at the same time, you just wasted and spun your wheels on that. All right. So as you're going through this, you again, I'm probably 10 minutes into this, having this conversation, building rapport. This one right here on the LP Mama probably could come up a little bit higher in some conversations. I had a lady yesterday that called immediately and wanted to see one of my listings. And, before I even probably even hit mortgage or price point or wherever in location, I kind of brought up the agent relationships. And that's kind of something that we probably need to move unless we spell this to LMPMAMA, but it doesn't sound really good. LPMAMA sounds better. So, because you need to bring this up sooner than later. Do you have now, how do you ask them if you guys have a relationship with another agent? Is that kind of a weird question? Do you have a relationship? I like that. Do you have anyone that's sending you homes that fit your budget? Do you have anybody that's out working for you and then going and seeing off-market properties? You can use whatever that you want. It's kind of I don't want a yes and no question. Do you have a relationship, Sandra, with another agent? No. So it's yes or no. I mean, that's you want to kind of dig a little bit because this is what they'll say. Well, not really. If anybody says that to me and they hesitated, well, not really. To me, it immediately says, what does that mean? Do you have somebody like if you specifically, Sandra, if you bought a house today, if you went and saw this house on Torrey Pines today and you loved it, who would write the offer for you? That's really brilliant right there because that goes, well, I'd probably have my agent. Oh, wait, you just told me that you didn't have an agent. So you kind of want to like wiggle there. You listen to their hesitation. Being that you do it a long time, that I've done it a long time, I can kind of tell what might be a waste of time and what would be. This one sounds like it's good that we might have something going on this. So do you have a relationship with an agent in this local area? Because you have to say that because if they're calling from the Bay Area, in my case, if you're calling from San Jose, oh yeah, we have an agent. But is that an agent in San Jose or is that an agent here? And so I am chatting with that when they're asking, when I'm asking and trying to build rapport. They say I'm from San Jose. Well, I will say, do you have an agent that's helping you sell your house down there? Because I'm having that conversation. Do you need to sell when I'm in the mortgage portion? Do you need to sell before you come? And these are not yes and no questions. These are not, I'm drilling them saying, I need this, I need this, I need this. This is more of a casual conversation and just bringing these up as the conversation just evolves for that question just to be brought and approached. Because if you write this down when a buyer calls, then you're not going to forget something and you're not going to immediately just run out. Because too often, oh yeah, I'll see you at down at that property, and yeah, you want to see it in 20 minutes? Great, I'll drop everything, I'll see you in 20 minutes. And so now you get there and they say, well, thank you, appreciate you being here, I'll let my agent know. And now if it's not your listing, you just wasted your time. So it's like asking that. And if they say, nope, I don't have a relationship with anybody at the moment. Well, that's fantastic. Thank you. I would love to interview for the job. Love to be an agent of choice. Those are my go-to things. Have you heard about the way that the relation, or have you heard about the way that the compensation and stuff has been, offered or new kind of rulings that are kind of share a little bit about that. And if they say, no, I haven't really heard about that, then I'll kind of explain a little bit about a buyer broker representation. Have you signed anything? I will ask them that too. If they say, yeah, I actually have an agent. Oh, good. Have you signed something? And I will tell you in August 20th, 25th, there was some pretty mean real estate agents that were stealing clients and just say, I had literally had an appointment for the next day. Of course, I didn't sign anything yet because we haven't met yet. Then I get a call that day and from another agent saying, well, I signed a broker agreement with this person, so I'm canceling your appointment and I'm going to go show them myself. And I just went, that's nice. So it was really rude. And so I went, where's the courtesy here? So everybody was quickly rushing out to get something signed to lock their buyer up. So you couldn't. So you got to ask that question. Have you signed anything with another broker? Have you been to an open house lately and have you signed any paperwork with somebody? No, I haven't. Well, let me kind of explain kind of what happens there. That if when you go out in an agent, they're going to need now with the new rules that you need to actually sign a representation agreement with somebody that you promise to pay them in some type type of compensation for their work. Have you heard of that yet? No, I haven't, or yes, I have. Then if I again I pivot and I explain a little bit more. So it's going to be really critical here, Holly, that you find an agent that you trust that's going to guide you through to make sure that you just don't sign with anyone who you maybe not have that a good rapport with. Does that make sense? And they go, oh yeah, absolutely. So I'm having this conversation and I would love to be your agent of choice. And oh, by the way, Holly, I'm going to email you over. Can I get your email? Because I'm going to email you over some information about this program that I'm mentioning and also a video that I actually go over the buyer representation agreement. So it gives you a little bit more information on there because it, just want you to be comfortable before you sign with an agent. Would that be okay? Sure, Holly, go ahead. So now I got her information. I'm already writing down her phone number because it's populated on my phone. So now I have her email address. Now I have her name. I'm going to ask probably, Holly, what's your last name as I'm finishing up the conversation. And then one of my favorite ones is on this one right here is so no, Holly, that's great. I look forward to seeing you at the house on Torrey Pines. But just quick before we get off the phone here is that what's your motivation about, what's your timing looking like? And I won't say motivation. I'll just say what's your timing look like that you might be looking at wanting to move this direction? Oh well, I'm probably going to retire in about 3 years, and so I'm probably just want to come up and look, and I'll probably buy a house in about 3 years. That's great. I'm still going to show them the house because I'm going to show you something here in just a moment. But I want to know their motivation. If they say, "Yeah, our job transfer, our school, our kids are starting school, and this in August, we got to move." So that helps me understand what kind of time frame I need to put and how much time I want to put into this individual. And so just what their motivation, and then again, of course, appointment. We've shared this last week. I had another buyer consultation this week. That was on Monday. It was great. 40 minutes on buyer consultation. I don't know why I hadn't done them much earlier in my career because maybe Zoom wasn't really existed, I guess, probably is number one. But having that conversation, now they're coming. They've already signed an agreement. They're already coming to see houses tomorrow. The other party that I showed at properties this week, they showed up with their buyer agreement already signed, and I was like, this is great. Let them do the work for me. So it's nice. So I love that when somebody shows up to your appointment and says, "Here's my pre-approval letter." You feel a little bit more committed. If you go to a listing presentation, which is interesting that somebody would give you a key before you even sign anything, but sometimes that happens. And so you go like, here's a key, just take the key. And then that, because maybe they don't live there and they don't want to come back and I haven't signed anything yet. But if you get the key to the house, you probably most likely are going to get the listing. And so the same thing with a pre-approval letter. If they hand that to you, you're pretty much in. So the appointment is either if Holly says, Eric, I just was calling on the home, but I can't come to Torrey Pines till next Saturday. Great, let's book that for Saturday. If they say, well, I might be coming into town, maybe about a month from now, that'd be great. Let's jump on a quick, 20, 30 minute Zoom conversation, and I can actually go over the map and the location of where you're kind of feeling that you want to be and the elevation and the no snow level. So I can kind of share and show where that all is at kind of in a visual. So then you'll know when you're starting to look for homes that you need to be in this kind of geographical range. Would that be okay with you? Yes, let's go ahead and set that up. So that Zoom interview is so critical, guys. It's they're so amazing, and you get to meet these people and you're chatting with them and they're comfortable in their living room and their kids are with them and their dog sitting on their lap and they just feel like super comfortable, and you just have this conversation and you really build the rapport because they're going to come to you, and they're just going to, because now you put in this time that you have with them. And I think I shared, there might be a couple of people new, but I think I'm in an escrow with 2 or 3 of these buyer presentation people right now that we had a 30-45 minute conversation on Zoom. And now we're actually in contract, and these people are now coming. One this week that just came, and then now this next people that did as well. But you're solidifying that because I asked them, when do you guys think you might be in the area next? They said, well, we're kind of thinking this was on the Zoom call. Well, we're thinking Saturday. Well, great. So we set that up. So really nice. And please, if they actually referred you by someone, bring that person's name up again, or and I always ask, Sandra, where did you find me? Where did you find me just was curious because you're just, calling out of the blue. and they'll say, yeah, I found you. The one was on Realtor.com. This other one was on Yelp. And this other one was a referral from a friend, is where this one came from. So we have a system in place. I just did a little, it's like a $10, $15 Crumble gift card. We have them in here. You get them at Costco. They're like, what do you pay? $75 for 100 or something like that. And you just, mail out that person that gave the referral to them because they'll take care of you. I listed a house recently that I keep sending the stuff to the wife, which is interesting because the husband, I met him at his mother's house to list her house, and he said, well, yeah, I'm sure Kathy called you because all the stuff and all the gift cards that you keep sending her. I said, well, she is sharing those with you too, right? And he goes, well, yeah, she is. We went to dinner the other day, which is great. So they're actually calling me because it's not because I'm bribing them, but I'm actually, it's part of my program, as part of just saying thank you. And so they want that. All right. So that is the LP Mama. Any questions that you have on the LP Mama before we move on?
I have a question.
Please.
If you get a call sign and they're interested in buying properties near you, but aren't interested in the property that you are currently selling, I have someone that I'm trying to get connected with who doesn't live here in town. How do I encourage them that having a Zoom meeting would be the best course of action since they don't want to meet in person because they live so far away?
Yeah, I would listen in their conversation that they had in regards to where they kind of want to be, how close they want to be to town, not too far out. And I would say, I'd love to show, or they might say, I want to be near rivers or lakes. And so I said, you know what, do you want to jump on a Zoom call real quick? And so just to help me understand a little bit about where you're at, and I can also show you a few homes because I'll have my MLS open, and before they jump on the call, I'll already have a price point and a range. And I said, I just want to show you a few homes, make sure that we're on the same page. So the houses and the pictures I want to show you on Zoom, if these actually fit the criteria that you're looking for, or if I need to do an adjustment and pivot a little bit, do you mind just taking about 20 minutes because you're not going to be coming up here anytime soon, but I just want to make sure that I'm on the same page and I'm on point with working what you actually need instead of sending some stuff to you that doesn't really quite fit your criteria. Would you mind if we can just jump on for 15 or 20 minutes? Something like that. I'd keep it real simple. And of course, it's going to take probably longer than 15 or 20 minutes. Just depends on how many questions they ask. But just having that face-to-face conversation with them, and it really solidifies them. And then that gets to the point where when you meet them, you say, it's good to see you. Because sometimes I might say, it's good to meet you. And he goes, wait, we already met, because now did it on Zoom. So, or we already met a year and a half ago and you showed us houses. Don't you remember? It's like, no, I don't remember, but thank you. So I don't, I get burned every once in a while because it's like, you see people 2 years ago and they're, maybe they have a ball cap on or they're changed their hair color or something. But that's a great question though. Just do what you can to get them on Zoom and show. And it's real simple. You just get on the maps, and then you just can hover over with your little mouse, and it kind of shows like the parks. And if you want to, you can pull it. It just, here's Condon Park, and you can click on it, and it shows the website. So it's kind of fun. Or the fairgrounds, you can chat about that. So, kind of having that conversation. Or here's the two brand new kind of subdivisions that I want to show, and this is the location where they're at. And oh, by the way, here's the MLS. Here's two homes that are actually in that subdivision, just so you kind of get a feel of what they look like. So kind of goes that way. Does that make sense?
Yes, very
Okay.
much so. Thank you so much.
Hey, you're
Appreciate
very
it.
welcome. All right, so here's something that is a whole new ball game right here about what we need to do, and that is you're tracking these down. Tracking these down of and having, because I literally would go out, or I go, did I get one signed by that person? Or boy, it's been over 3 months. Should I like get a new one? So it is a little bit kind of crazy. It's just like your listings where you have a 6-month listing, and in my Gmail calendar, it actually says a week before if it's going to go 6 months, because you're going to have this happen to us a lot more these days, that it's going to be an expired listing because the listings are just taking longer to sell. So, or the seller's not willing to reduce the price. And so you just know it's going to go all the way to 6 months. You can say, please. So what you need to make sure is that I have it on my calendar that this house listing expires 7 days from now. This listing expires 3 days from now. So it's in the calendar. So when I take a listing, I put that in. You need to have this in your calendar that Mary or John or Cody or whoever these people are, that I put a 2.5%, I put a 3%, just so you have some documentation. When does it expire? And have that so don't get in trouble where if it's 6, 7, 8 months later and you realize that you're still showing property and it's an expired one and somebody calls you on it and asks. I haven't seen anybody doing that yet. I heard there was going to be police, individuals from CAR and stuff coming and looking at open houses. And if anybody's seen that or heard that, feel free to let us know. But just to make sure you have that a written agreement and have that kind of watching when that expires. Any questions about that one? All right, I think I shared this screen last time about buyer presentation agreements, navigating. But so when a buyer comes in, I want you guys to don't say this and say, all right, Holly, thank you so much. I'm going to put you on a drip right now. It's like IV drip. I mean, what is that first thing that comes to your mind? What are you dripping me with? So I'm going to say, I'm going to be, sending you over some homes. You kind of explained a little bit about price range and you want 4 bedrooms. And I'm reiterating kind of what Holly mentioned. So they realize that I listened. And so I will be saying, I'll be putting this together. I'm going to actually put you into my system right now, and I'm going to be emailing you over some homes that best fit your criteria. And before we meet, on Zoom, or when we meet on Zoom, I'll check with you. Let me know if we're on point, or if they don't schedule a Zoom meeting. Say, I'm going to give you a call tomorrow. Make sure the houses that I sent over are some that are on point that you're happy with. And so make sure you put them in there. There was somebody the other day that we didn't put them in there, and all of a sudden we're actually in contract with them because they came in on a Zoom call. I had a Zoom call with them, and literally I showed them one house and we wrote an offer on it. And that's happened 3 times in 30 years. I call it one and done. Those always are scary when you jump into the first house, but it's like, okay, should we have looked at more houses? But they've done a lot of research online, and we're good to go. But I realized that we never even had them in because it literally happened within about 5 days. And so we never put them in there. And so that was not good. So that was bad. So you need to put them in there, put them in your CRM, put them in your, with Snap and everything, and get them in there to make sure they're in. All right. All right. So then you're going to have that welcome video. If they don't do a Zoom, I'm still going, because now I only have phone, right? You and I, there's another class I teach about communication and facial expressions and words they use and how people communicate. Is video is important. But if we don't get an opportunity to do a Zoom call, they say, no, I think we'll just do a phone call first, or whatever it is. Then I'm going to do a recording, and I'm just go, Sandra, this is Eric Hatch. Thank you so much for chatting with me a few minutes ago regards your home. I'm super excited to find you a 3-bedroom, 4-bath on 1 acre here in Auburn area. Just want to put a face to a name. Feel free to watch the video down below that I have in regards to that buyer representation agreement that I mentioned. Oh, and here's Amelia's phone number for the lender again that you requested. And here is a moving company that you requested as well. And I look forward to hearing from you soon. I'll give you a call tomorrow to make sure that we're on point on the homes that I've actually sending you over, and take care. So now I just did that in my camera, and I just sent that, emailed that over. And so now they have some, and you can actually, if you do BombBomb, you can actually see that they opened it. And sometimes they can comment on there and go, wow, thanks so much. Appreciate that. So that's important to at least send them something. If you don't have a video and you don't feel comfortable, email them something. Email them just as a thank you email, just so they can see that you're on top of it to confirm that. There we go. We talked about that one too. So I want you to put them in a task. This is my ISA inside sales agent just arrived. We're going to go over some stuff here too. She's a task woman. But I just want you guys to realize that if you say you're going to call them tomorrow, put them in a task in your CRM that you're going to call them. And then what I sometimes do with these people is I actually, since I'm in this CRM and I don't want to waste a lot of time or be more efficient, I'll put them into call tomorrow, and I'll put them in call in 7 days. And I'll put it in there at the same time. So I'm actually entering multiple tasks just in case you forget one, or you got busy, or you left a message tomorrow and they didn't pick up, and then you don't retask them. So I have something else in there. So everyone has multiple tasks that I'm going to be reaching out and chatting with them. So it's critical. and we'll share that a little bit about database and stuff in another class. Follow up, give them a call as promised. I always say, hey, Sandra, as promised, it's Eric here. Hope all is well. Just checking in to make sure the houses that I'm sending you that I sent you yesterday, are they on point? Well, I never got your email. Well, let me confirm your email, please, because that happens every once in a while. We mess up an email or something. And then you confirm, okay, I'm so sorry, I'll send that back over. Oh yeah, I haven't had a chance to look at them. If they're kind of whining and say, oh, I haven't had a chance to look at them, then maybe their motivation isn't quite there. But oh, I saw them, but they're great, I loved it, but didn't really care for this other house because it was too small. Can you increase the size? And so I'll say, sure, you bet. All right, buyer tour. This is my buyer tour for tomorrow. So in Cloud CMA, no, wrong one. No, don't see it. I had the wrong one because it's you know what? It's being printed, but there's a buyer tour that is. Nope, that's not it. Sorry, don't have it up right now. But there's a buyer tour that basically has their buyer tour and actually has every single house in it with color photos of the house that you're going to see through Cloud CMA. It gives Yelp reviews of the nearest restaurant, some school information in there as well. You can customize that as well. And so I actually put it behind plastic like this, and I take that with me and I just share them, share the houses. No, this is the other one. Oh, anyway, I don't know where it went, but share the house, share that with them. I hand it to them. It looks more professional, and I just hand that to them, and there it is. The people that are coming actually tomorrow, they have 3 kids in tow. And I asked them if they were joking, bringing their dog. They said no. This is a pro tip. What I want you guys to make sure, I need you guys to have these emergency kits in your trunk, not Band-Aids, yes, but because that happens. But I want you guys to have a couple diapers and some wet wipes. If you guys are going to be going with some moms with babies, I literally had to pull that out. I've sold 2 houses to that family. They were so blown away that I can't believe that Eric had that. My kids gave that to me as a gift for me to have in my trunk, probably for my grandkids. But it was great. I said, you know what? You ran out of wet wipes. I got some. Really? Seriously? Oh, here's a diaper too. And it was the cutest thing. And it solidified just as that. I remember going to Hawaii one time, and I'm actually looking at houses. It's hot. And we're in between, actually our condos, and we're in between 2 condos. And she says, oh, come on over here. And she opens up her trunk. Now, how many of you would open up your trunk right now and let somebody look in your trunk? Okay. Mine can get pretty nasty. But it was really cool that she opened her trunk. She had this little snack basket. She had a little water cooler there with water in it. Goes, let's take a break right here and chat for a few minutes and have a snack and some water. I thought that was actually full first class. So have some things like that available on that. I actually, years ago, inside my back seat pockets, when we toured a lot more people in my car versus now just them following you, I literally had a laminated page at the back that basically was my Zillow reviews or my Yelp reviews with my little reviews with the client's pictures, where they were just sitting there going, clever. They could see the 5-star reviews as they were driving with me to house. So, think outside the box sometimes on that. So I want to share with you a couple things in closing here about the amount of emails that you should keep sending, because you get depressed every once in a while that they're ignoring me. They're not going to buy anymore. What's going on? These people registered in 2022. They looked at 565 homes online on my website. We sent 378 emails, days work with this client, and they purchased a house last year. And that was a $30,000 commission. So I'm just letting you know that keep calling these people. They registered in 2020. We closed a house in 2024. That's a lot of days work with these people. And you just have to stay in front of these individual people, because they'll come. I mean, 904 days that I work with these people on the Santiago family. The reason why I stayed really heavy with this gal is because her kids lived here. And so I knew eventually they were moving mom to this property, or to this location. So I literally was always on the phone once a month saying, how are you doing? going? How's life? How's this? How's that? And now we're really, really good friends. And the interesting part is that these people right here, this is that group of people. I was out again this last week with another group from San Jose. We're all like on their fourth or fifth friend group that have, the four of them have purchased houses, and this is the fifth one that's coming to purchase houses. And it's the same group of people, the same occupation of law enforcement group that are coming this direction. So it's kind of fun, just stay with it and just keep sending stuff to them and keep calling them. Even sometimes you feel like, oh, am I nagging them? What's going on? Unless they are fully on, like say unsubscribe, like somebody last night just said, unsubscribe me, please. But that's because we've got lots of people coming and going. But and I probably never spoke to that person. So sometimes when they say unsubscribe, I say, are you sure you want to subscribe to a great resource? You want to say that, but if they want us to subscribe, they go for it. But we get so many leads that come in on a daily basis through our Facebook marketing that sometimes they don't realize that where they even put their information in. So that's kind of where we're at. So what questions you guys have? Any questions or thoughts in regards to this? And I will stop the share, and I will let me turn that